Wow, good afternoon. It's so great to see so many people out here today. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. And my name is Paul Hoffman. I'm the club president, and thank you for joining us. Thank you. Today's meeting is sponsored by Amy Baskin, and she's with Conquering CHD, an organization working to conquer congenital heart disease, and our thanks for her support of today's luncheon. Thank you, Amy. Saw you before. Oh, there she is. There. Thanks, Amy. Thank you, Amy. All right, we'll open up our meeting today by reciting the four-way test as we always do. What we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Great, thank you for that. And please remain standing for our patriotic song. Casey Elkers will lead us in singing America the Beautiful with Roger Stauder on the keyboard. Roger, you always do such a great job of playing the keyboard beforehand, so thank you for that, Roger. And following the patriotic song, please be seated and give your attention to Casey Elkers and Joe Lanus, who are going to perform an exciting piece from Brazil. Chico Chico no Fuba. My wife coached me on that. She speaks Portuguese. So. I was like, Tico. No, she's like, Chico Chico no Fuba, Paul. So. On the flute and cello. They will tell us more about it before they play. So with that, Casey, come up.
Happy birthday, Paul.
Thanks.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Great, thank you. Joe and I are happy to be here and play our flute and cello here for you today. We're going to tell you a little bit about today's song. Chico Chico no Fuba is a song written by Brazilian composer Zequina Dabru in 1917. Translated from Portuguese, it means sparrow in the cornmeal, and it's written in the coro style that was considered the first characteristically Brazilian genre in urban popular music. A coro is a song form that typically shrugs off misfortune with good humor, good tunes, and fast tempos. Chico Chico's catchy, emphatically syncopated rhythm is irresistible and lends itself to virtuosic arrangements for every conceivable solo instrument and ensemble, from finger-tangling guitar transcriptions to full-on symphonic arrangements. Today, we will perform an arrangement for flute and cello, and we encourage you to seek out other arrangements of this popular tune, Chico Chico, Tico, Tico. That's how it's spelled. Find it on YouTube. Have fun with it.
Wow. Muito obrigado. All right. And now our guests are going to be introduced by Joyce Bromley. Joyce?
Hi. Thank you, President Paul. I'd like to announce the guests that we have with us today. And guests, would you please stand and remain standing when I call your name, and we'll recognize you as a group. Ted Blicchard, guest of Valerie Rank. Chad Eschler, guest of Jeff Tubbs. Kay LaHale, Gardner Mishlove, guest of Ron Luskin. Christina Martin Wright, guest of Nick Curran. Aaron McCobes, guest of Susan Schmitz. Rebecca Parr, a former member and back in the area, so we hope to see her again, guest of Peter Gray. Haley Heiser, guest of Amy Baskin. Joe Lutke, guest of Sandy Gellner. Patrick O'Connell, guest of the program committee. And Tom Michalski is a guest from the Elmbrook Rotary Club. And Margaret Pearson, guest of Becky Steinhoff, also a Rotarian from Lebanon, Illinois. We can greet them together.
Awesome. Thank you, Joyce, and welcome to all of our guests. Nice to have you here today. All right. Today, the number I've chosen to highlight is 57. That's the number of team leaders and committee chairs that we have approved at our board meeting last Monday night for the upcoming Rotary year. We have such an amazing Rotary Club. It's in thanks to so many Rotarians who say yes to serving in these leadership positions. Thanks to these 57 members and incoming President Charles McClymans, who will tell us more about the committee and fellowship group signups and chairs next month. So thank you for everyone who agreed to serve this year. And Doug Dittman's going to come up. He's the president of our Madison Rotary Foundation, and he's going to give us a report. Doug?
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. As Paul mentioned, I serve as president of our Madison Rotary Foundation this year. We are continuing to present a monthly highlight about our foundation as we celebrate our 90th anniversary year. Last month, I reported on our foundation's newest endowment fund, the Community Grants Endowment Fund. Excuse me. This was created a year ago, and our foundation trustees want to make it a focus during our 90th anniversary year. This new fund will specifically benefit our community grants program, with only the interest on the fund being used each year to enhance the funding. This fund is patterned after the Synergy Fund in that members can contribute to this fund in any amount. The office will keep a record of your cumulative contributions. When contributions reach $50,000, a member has the option to create a named fund for our community grants program. Our goal is to reach $50,000 for this endowment fund during our anniversary year, because this is the magic number we need to reach to begin making grants from the interest earned on the fund. We are currently at just over, drumroll, $44,000 in the fund. So it's achievable. We can get there. We have some endowment fund pledge cards at the back table, and I hope you'll pick one up and help us get closer to that $50,000 goal. President Paul mentioned a few weeks ago that our Community Grants Committee held their day-long meeting a few weeks ago. The committee is chaired by Jen Savino, and the 15-member committee reviewed about 80 grant proposals this year. The committee recommendations will be presented to our club board and our foundation trustees on March 15th, so we'll be hearing the results of this year's activity later next month. If we hit the $50,000 fundraising goal for our Community Grants Endowment Fund this year, we'll be able to enhance funding for our Community Grants program starting next year. Our Community Grants program is just another example of the impact our Madison Rotary Foundation has on our community and our youth, and is part of the over $890,000 we've been able to distribute during our anniversary year. That should make all of us proud to be members of this Rotary Club. Thank you for your investments in our Madison Rotary Foundation to make this funding possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you for your leadership and the important work. We all should be very proud of our Rotary Foundation. It's an incredible organization and allows us to do so much for our community, so thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to again announce the names of our nominees for our Madison Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees this week. This year's nominees for our 4-year terms on the Madison Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees, beginning July 1st, are, and if you could please stand if you're present here today, Dee Fleary-Simons, Tammy Thayer, and Mark Westover. Great. Thank you, guys. The election of new trustees is going to take place at our annual meeting at the Madison Rotary Foundation just before our regular Rotary luncheon on Wednesday, March 8th. As prescribed by the foundation bylaws, any 10 members of the Madison Rotary Club may submit in writing, signed said 10 members, any additional names or names to the foundation secretary, who's Pat Jenkins, and sent to our Rotary office for inclusion on the ballot. All names submitted prior to March 1st shall be included on the ballot. So thank you guys for agreeing to run for the office. Thank you for that. And I'm pleased today because I'm going to introduce 4 new members to our club today. We'll start with Dahlia Altsek. Dahlia? So would she please stand? Thank you for standing. And our sponsors, Melanie Ramey, Lou Harned, and her son, Moses Altsek. Thank you, guys. That's awesome. Dahlia has been loaned the classification of manufacturing retired and is former owner of Intertex Import Company. She's a former Rotarian at Dionysus, Greece, from 2009 to 2011, and she was born in Tel Aviv, Israel, and moved to Greece when she was 9 years old. Dahlia is the daughter of Bergen-Belsen concentration camp survivors. She came to Madison from Athens, Greece in 2013 and became a naturalized citizen of the United States on June 10th, 2021. Congratulations. That's nice. Dahlia lives on South Hamilton Street and has 2 adult children. She is a senior guest auditor at UW-Madison. Dahlia is a member of the Madison Civics Club in Plato, and she is fluent in Greek, French, and Spanish. So Dahlia, please remain standing. And will Beth Larson please stand with her sponsors, Valerie Rank and Emily Grunwald. Great, thanks you guys. Beth has been loaned the classification of housing and is Vice President of Development for Habitat for Humanity of Dane County. She was born in Streator, Illinois. Beth and her husband, Matthew Onstead, have 2 sons, and they live on Maywood Circle in Middleton. Beth holds a bachelor's degree in music and an MBA degree from UW-Madison. She is an active member of the Association of Fundraising Professionals, AFP, and serving on their board of directors, she is also co-chair of AFP's Scholarship Committee. Beth is also vice president of the board of directors for the Bach Dancing and Dynamite Society. She's been named one of In Business Magazine's 2023 40 Under 40. And Beth says, I started playing the violin at age 4. Classical music has always been an important part of my life. She performed professionally in orchestras and chamber ensembles throughout the Midwest, around the country, and internationally. Locally, she performs with the Madison Symphony Orchestra, Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, Willie Street Chamber Players, and Middleton Community Orchestra. She adds, I'm now retired from playing professionally, but maybe she would do it in front of a group like this, maybe, or something like that. Maybe, but I look forward to when I have time to play for myself again. So please remain standing, Beth. And will Marge Murray and her sponsor, Mark Westover, please stand. Thank you, Mark. Marge has been loaned the classification of Health Services and is COO of Oakwood Village. She was born in Sioux City, Iowa. Marge and her husband, Dennis Sullivan, make their home on Woodland Circle in Madison. She has 5 adult children. Marge earned a bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Iowa and an MBA degree from the UW-Madison. Marge lists knitting, reading, cooking among her favorite pastimes. So please remain standing. And will Rich Oliver please stand with his sponsor, Susan Schmitz. I saw Susan around here. There you go, Susan. Rich has been loaned the classification of colleges and universities, professional, school, retired, and is Dean Emeritus for the School of Health Professions at the University of Missouri in Columbia. He was born in Mexico, Missouri. Rich and his wife, Carol, live on Covered Bridge Trail in Sun Prairie and have 2 adult daughters. He earned a bachelor's degree in medical technology and a master's degree, as well as doctorate degree in education, all from the University of Missouri. Rich is co-founder of Enrichly Co., an online learning network, and he is also a member of the Association of School Advancing Health Professionals and Centennial Investors. He enjoys fishing, hiking, yard work, and attending grandkids events. So please join me in welcoming all of our new members and thanking them for the sponsoring into our club. Thank you. Fantastic, so great to see. All right, we've got birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. We also encourage members to make a gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation that represents their age, rounded up to 100 for our Synergy Scholarship Fund. On February 12th, Jane Demke. February 12th, past President Dick Olson. February 12th, Floyd Rose. February 12th, past President Bob Sorge, who shares, glad to be part of a club that values integrity, fairness, and goodwill. Thank you, Bob. February 13th, Rob Vandenberg. February 13th, John Wenke. There we go, John, sorry. Close, I said that right? February 14th, Dale Hendricks. February 17th, Tony Arneson. February 18th, past President Dave Uwanowski. And February 18th, Ann Newyard Morrison. So thanks to all of our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. And please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Terry Jones. Happy birthday to you. Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, we've got a number of members in the news. Moses Altsek was interviewed on Channel 3 about what the U.S. hitting the debt ceiling means for consumers. He was also interviewed on Channel 27 about major oil companies earning record profits in 2022. Bill Connors wrote an article about the commercial building energy reporting proposed ordinance, and that was in the State Journal. Deborah Kronmiller was interviewed by Wisconsin Public Radio about proposed changes to Wisconsin election laws. Carl Gutenik was interviewed on Channel 15 about Madison veterans embracing yoga and gardening in whole health care. Carlton Jenkins was pictured and quoted in articles announcing his retirement as superintendent of the Madison Metro School District. And Robert Reed was pictured and quoted in the Capital City Hughes cover story article titled, Charting the Course of the Symphony. CO Robert Reed is setting the direction of the Madison Symphony Orchestra. Congratulations to everybody in the news. Thanks, guys. All right. We held our monthly board meeting last Monday evening, and I encourage members to review our board minutes that we post on our member login tab of our club's website. We want members to see our current board members, so we ask one board member to introduce a speaker each month. This month, Valerie Rank, who is in her second of a 2-year term on our board, is also the incoming president of our Madison Rotary Foundation, and she's going to make the introduction. Valerie joined our Rotary Club in 2012, and she is CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Dane County. And Valerie's now going to come up and make the introduction. Welcome, Val. Yes. Thanks.
Our speaker today, sorry, I have a bad voice. Our speaker today is Patrick O'Connell, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Shine Technologies. He holds a bachelor's in mass communications from Morningside University and an MBA from the University of Iowa. Prior to Shine, he led corporate communications, change management, and strategic planning at Chamberlain Group, maker of the industry-leading Lift garage door openers. Today, Patrick is going to share his Southern Wisconsin startup company is preparing to make an incredible difference in patients' lives through nuclear medicine and its fusion technology. We look forward to your presentation, Patrick, and we've made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way to say thanks. I also want to mention we'll have a Q&A at the end as time allows, but please wait for the microphone if you have a question. Let's welcome Patrick to our podium. Thank you. You're over here.
Thank you very much. It was very kind. Thanks, Valerie. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a Midwesterner at heart, so it's nice to see joy in this room. I think that you just do a great job of welcoming folks, but also of being a community that is just a delight, I think, to work with. So I grew up in Iowa. My wife is from Rockford. We spent the last several years, about 10, in the western suburbs of Chicago. And Shine recruited me to Janesville. So we relocated to Janesville. And it's been, just as I described earlier, for your community here, a wonderful, wonderful place to live. So we truly enjoy it. Being part of the community there is like being home, and they've quickly welcomed us. So how many of you heard of Shine? Good, wonderful. Yeah, it's great. So we have presence, just to give you a couple of facts and figures, we have presence from a perspective of Wisconsin. Here, of course, locally in Fitchburg, we have about 120 employees here locally. Our larger sect of employees are down in Janesville, where we have a headquarters, and 2 growing facilities that are for mass production of nuclear medicine. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time and share with you a little bit about where Shine is in our business journey, hopefully give you a little education if you don't already know some of those basics, and then talk a little bit about one of the most powerful opportunities that we're a part of in the near term, which is the potential to cure cancer. So some pretty good stuff. A light message on screen from our attorneys. Sorry for any of you who practice law, but if you'd like more on that, see me afterwards. In short, of course, we're a startup. So we are working through a process from a business journey perspective that catalyzes what you see on screen here in terms of a vision and a mission. And I would connect that a little bit to the Rotary because Greg Pfeiffer, our founder and CEO, is very focused on finding societal benefit for what we're doing. So different than some companies that are focused today, it's hot in the news, fusion is hot in the news as a potential source of clean, sustainable energy. We are too, but that's a long ways out yet in his estimate. So in the meantime, what we're really focused on is a scalable path to use fusion, this technology, in a way that benefits society today. So I liken that a little bit to what the Rotary's focus is too in terms of serving and having a benefit. So why nuclear? First of all, it's not a dirty word. It is a great opportunity, I think, for us. And one of the best ways to describe a little bit about what Shine does that makes us unique is to understand some very basic differences between a concept called fission and fusion. So let's look at the first one. How many of you play pool? Good, got some hands up. So imagine yourself at one end of the pool table, and you've got the cue ball in your sights. rack of balls at the other end of the table, and you're ready to give them a good break. That is fission. So fission is a scattering process that creates neutrons or energy. Fission is what happens inside nuclear power plants. So it's one form of creating these neutrons that I'll speak to a little bit in terms of what we're doing with neutrons, but it's not how we're doing it. It's a very inefficient process relative to what we're doing, which is fusion. So imagine the difference of, instead of being at the end of the pool table with your cue ball and scattering balls and hoping that one of them goes into the pocket, imagine you're toward the end of the game and you've got the 8-ball there in sight to a corner pocket with your cue ball, and unless you're me, pretty good chances of it going in, right? So that's fusion. Fusion is a lot more direct, and what we're doing in essence at Shine is we're using a fusion technology that Greg came up with for all of our business journey. So what is that business journey? It breaks itself into 4 phases. The first 2 on the left, 1 and 2, essentially are already in process and under our belt in many ways. So the first one is right here in Fitchburg. It was started with a company called Phoenix, and its charter was really to take pictures of industrial components. Why? To inspect them, to look at them from a unique perspective and understand the integrity of them. So let's say I fell off the stage here and I hurt my arm. What's the first thing a doctor is going to probably want to do? X-ray, right. So X-rays are particularly good at seeing through soft tissue, skin, muscle, to understand the integrity of a hard object, the bone. That's what they do well. Neutron rays are what we do in Fitchburg here. So the difference is the opposite. They're particularly good at seeing through very dense objects and understanding the integrity of them. Customers. So this is a revenue-generating business for Shine today. Customers include aerospace, defense, space exploration, and what we're doing for them is we're taking components that they have great design around and making sure that they were, from a specification perspective, designed correctly. Think of aerospace, the fan blade engines that go around at a very high velocity. They get very hot. They're designed intentionally as a very light carbon fiber material. That carbon fiber material has veins in it literally that help self-cool that material. If it's not designed to spec and it gets hot, imagine what could happen. Catastrophic failure of that engine. Plane goes down. So that's a very important part of what we're doing already today, using a fusion technology to take neutron rays of component parts like that. That's right here in Fitchburg. Number 2, let's spend a little bit of time there because I think that was the billing, right? What are we doing to potentially make a path toward curing cancer? So we're doing 2 different medical isotopes. I call them Madison. They are in Janesville. We do one today already in weekly shipments that goes out. I'll spend a little bit of time there. And then the second one that we're working on is in a mass facility down there that is still in the stages of construction. So we hope to have that mass production facility open by the middle of next year. So let's talk about those 2 things. There's one that's a diagnostic, so it helps to assess and understand the severity of a potential issue. Let's say I have chest pain, and I go to the doctor, and the cardiologist, one of the first things that he or she may want to do is probably to order a scan and understand what kind of issue I might have. Is this a small issue that could be potentially treated with prescription medicine? Is it a medium issue? It might be a blockage, so there might be a stent at the catheter lab. Or is this an all-assault, open me up, I need a triple bypass? So the medicine that's used to help diagnose for that cardiologist that gets injected into you safely and illuminates what's going on is called technetium. So it's a fancy medicine that we will be making in Janesville. This large facility that's about 40,000 square feet will have 8 independent fusion systems that allow for up to 20 million doses of this medicine every year. The worldwide demand for it today is about 40 million doses, and about half of those, the 20, are consumed in North America. Here's the challenge with it. The material that gets shipped to hospitals for use is called molybdenum-99. That's the original isotope before it then becomes technetium and then is injectable into people. It's made today in nuclear reactors. Remember that fission? It's made using fission today, but in 5 places, all in the Eastern Hemisphere. So supply is very limited. It's hard to get it to the US, where half of the demand is. Here's another complication. Once it's made, it has a 66-hour lifespan. So imagine the logistics of getting that medicine where it comes from Europe, South Africa, or Australia today to hospitals all across the US, Canada, wherever it may be needed here. It's a logistical nightmare. So we believe that our mass production facility that is nearly complete in Janesville will be an incredible part of patients' lives, helping to really literally understand the diagnostics parts of key medicines or key issues. So there's a second one, and that's even more hopeful in my eyes, because how many of you know someone who's had cancer? Yeah, pretty much everyone, right? So you think about the progression of cancer therapies and what started as perhaps chemotherapy, where it went all across your body. And what would happen, of course, is you may lose your hair, muscle atrophy. In other words, what was going on is the bad cells, as well as good cells, were all being harmed to try to defeat that cancer. And then as things developed, you saw things like radiation, which was more targeted. Let's say I had breast cancer, targeted therapy around the breast. Better, but still a lot of good cells with the bad cells are all being harmed. The advancement that's taking place in pharmaceuticals is pretty incredible. We're working with pharmaceutical companies to take a medicine that we're creating today, every week in Janesville, and package it with those pharmaceutical companies to go after targeted cancer therapy. Here's what that really means. Novartis, you probably heard of them, a big pharmaceutical company, based in Europe. They have 2 particular commercially available drugs that are FDA cleared, and they utilize this particular isotope that we are producing in Janesville. It's called lutetium-177. It acts like a smart bomb. So in short, what it does is it gets packaged with the pharmaceutical company's tracer. The tracer is designed to go find cancerous cells. So one of the drugs that Novartis has out there is called Pluvicto. Pluvicto is for prostate cancer. If you know anything about prostate cancer, it's one of those cancers that in a male may go undetected, and it can metastasize all across your body without you even knowing that you have cancer. And then they call that stage 4, game over. Here's an example of where Novartis, with Pluvicto, alongside this smart bomb, is able to take their drug through an IV infusion, give that to a patient over the course of about 4 doses every 4 weeks or so with an intravenous feeding, and patient scans 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, completely clear of cancer. So whether the cancer has gone from prostate to lymph nodes, it doesn't matter. This is seeking out just cancer cells, and with the lutetium-177, once it finds those, it irradiates or kills that cell. It doesn't kill healthy cells. The margin of error on this is less than 1 millimeter. So it's very targeted therapy. This is the kind of stuff that we're doing in Janesville. The demand for this is, as you can imagine, enormous. Novartis is one of many pharmaceutical companies working on dozens of trials for every kind of cancer you can imagine, leveraging this same isotope, lutetium-177. So we are fast and furiously creating a mass production facility in Janesville to help address this. We believe we will be, if not the largest, the second largest producer of lutetium that's in such high demand in the world. 3 and 4, just briefly on this slide, demonstrate a little bit of Greg's vision and philosophy around SHINE. It is more than just benefiting today, the cancer, the wonderful things that we can do there. It is also thinking about the power necessary within nuclear power plants, and one of the biggest challenges there is nuclear waste. Our same fusion technology can potentially be used to recycle that spent nuclear fuel. Taking our device, we're actually going to grab that waste that's so-called and understand that 95% of what's in that waste can actually be reused in those nuclear power plants. So that's our developing stage right now of phase 3 in our business journey, and that's all on a trajectory up toward fusion energy. Clean, sustainable, on-demand energy where you need it and when you need it. So that's part of really a descriptor of SHINE's business philosophy. I won't spend too much time here, but it's kind of fun to sometimes understand that a company like this right here in southern Wisconsin has been through a lot to get to where we are. This journey started all the way back with Phoenix here in Fitchburg in 2005. But we have a lot of milestones since 2013. We work very closely with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Department of Energy, because they regulate us in terms of the facilities that we're building in Janesville. So that process started back in 2013. We are nearing the end of that 10-year journey, and that's called, so-called in the industry, record pace. So it is a lot to work through in terms of regulatory concerns, but we're close to the end and really proud of what we're hope to bring online soon in terms of Janesville. This is the chrysalis, as we so call it. So think about the chrysalis as a cocoon, and out of that cocoon comes a beautiful butterfly. From this facility will come a lot of great medicine to help people. So that's why we named it such. This is just south of our headquarters in Janesville, right across the street from the airport. It will get a great big sign on it, hopefully in the next couple of months, so you'll be able to see it even wider. And we're intentionally beside the airport because remember the product that I told you about here has how long of a lifespan? 66 hours. Yeah, exactly. So by the time we create it in this facility, it has to be consumed in a patient in that amount of time. So we want to be logistically centered in a place that can get that where it needs to go. This next one is a look inside that same facility. So this is, that big yellow bar is a crane, and its job will be to take our large fusion devices that are actually made right here in Fitchburg at this plant right here. It's where we design, engineer, and build our fusion systems. So about 120 folks right here in Fitchburg are a part of that team, and they create the systems that go into that facility. So again, the idea is that we'll have 8 of these independent systems. There's a blue card on your tables that kind of explains a little bit of this, but essentially those will be our independent streams to help create this important diagnostic medicine. And then finally, this is an example of part of our process is also a radiochemistry. So these are called hot cells. Hot, meaning there's radioactive material inside them. They are a lead-lined box. They are manipulated by operators with robotic arms, and that's what you're seeing on the far left of the slide. And we will have 8 of those set up to serve each of those independent streams as they come out and create the medicine there's a successive fashion with which we then radiochemistry produce the isotope that then is then able to go into humans. So that is kind of our story. Again, SHINE focused on, right now, a very near-term opportunity to be part of nuclear medicine and helping to revolutionize some of the ways in which patients can hopefully, in the future, battle through important diseases. And in the longer term, of course, SHINE's endeavors are to be part of the nuclear power and the fusion industry that creates clean, sustainable, carbon-free energy. With that, I'd love to take questions.
Thank you. That was very interesting. What's the main difference between proton therapy and your therapy? Because I know someone that just went through the proton therapy.
Wow, that's a great question. If Greg was here, I'm sure that he would have a very lengthy answer. Mine is going to be a short one, which is I don't know exactly. We're utilizing neutrons is the primary outcome that we get from our fusion. But the isotopes that we're creating are either diagnostic or, in this case, they're compounds with a pharmaceutical company's tracer. So this is an infusion that basically, with their know-how to go find the cancerous cell, we are the smart bomb that blows up that cell once it finds it. That's as much as I can explain. Yeah, sure.
Really fascinating work and projects that you're doing. So, and thank you for investing in Wisconsin.
Certainly.
So, part of this, I mean, you're dealing with some tricky, potentially dangerous materials. Can you talk about security and safety a little bit?
Yeah, that's that 10-year journey. So with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, they are alongside us with the construction build process. So it is very much regulated and followed all to a T. The same standards that would go into building a nuclear power plant are the same standards with which we're building our facility in Janesville. It is, as I said earlier, about 40,000 square feet. It has 17,000 cubic yards of cement. So they're 3-foot thick walls all the way around the facility. Just to give it a perspective, if you were to look at a 10 by 10 patio in your backyard, that's about 1 cubic yard, 17,000. So it's a big facility. Yes, secure. The elements that are different, though, than a nuclear power plant are that we're not using fission, which is a chain reaction. We're using fusion, and it's on or off. So it isn't a cycle that has the same kind of vulnerabilities. We're also using, from the Department of Energy, low enriched uranium. So what that means is this is already been downgraded from high enriched uranium, which would be the effect of a nuclear bomb. We're not using that level of uranium on purpose. And so we have a lease and take back program with the Department of Energy where they provide that raw substance at low enrichment, which is what we need to operate our fusion device. And then anything that may be left over, it's a lease and take back. They take it back. So safety-wise, pretty small, pretty minimal. Last week, we just passed our environmental evaluation from the NRC. So what that means is that over the course of us building our facility, they've been there to understand any kind of environmental impact. The good news is that that was passed with flying colors. There is no environmental impact from design through installation.
Next question is here.
Sure.
Hi, Paul Riemann. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question about your nuclear waste recycling.
Yeah.
We have so much of it sitting in
Yeah.
pools of water at sites,
Correct.
Nuclear sites. What's your time frame for getting to this?
It's a good question. So it's a developing process right now for our nuclear waste. We are hopeful in the next 5 years to have something that is viable and actually in production. It is based on our current fusion systems that we're using for the medical isotopes, but a scale up of technology. So we believe it's certainly possible. We have a horizon toward it, and now it's just a matter of the engineering and the technology cascade to bring it to life. We hope for 5 years.
Thank you for your talk. I'm just wondering, I've read in the papers that fusion isn't really available. It doesn't do anything yet, but you're talking about having a standard process for fusion.
Yeah.
I guess, how does that work? I guess you're using a lot more energy than you would if you were making electricity, or how does that work?
Yeah, good question. So there was a great deal of news generated with a scientific break-even, as it's called, in the middle of December at one of the national labs. Excuse me, and if I put this into layman's terms, here's how I understand it, and this is how Greg explains it. There is a laser on one end, probably multiple lasers, that is using energy to create a fusion cycle, and then there's output on the other side. What they achieved was the energy required on the input was slightly smaller than the output, meaning that they got something, a net value of energy on the other side. So it is now conceivable that fusion can create net productive energy. What we're doing, though, is working toward that in a lot lesser kind of fashion to prove that the technology can be done for other uses today, but not at that scale. There are several companies out there focused on fusion as the holy grail. That's all they're doing. Consortiums all across the world. There's some private companies. There's some public companies funded by various players in the industry sector, or the energy sector. Again, ours is different because we look at ourselves as today's fusion company. We're doing it in small scale to prove some societal benefit and learn how the technology can grow and can change. So the horizon of that actual output being productive and at scale to go into the grid, probably 15 to 20 years out.
We're back over here.
Hi, I'm Ashley Quinto Powell.
Hi.
A couple part question, maybe, hopefully a lowball one. Can you speak to what this means for jobs in Janesville? And then also, why Janesville?
Yeah. Well, a lot of reasons. So let me start with the back end first. Greg was very intentional when he sought for a permanent home for Shine. And that involved a lot of different places across the state of Wisconsin. He grew up in the Milwaukee suburbs. He did his undergrad, his graduate, and his PhD all here in Madison through the University of Wisconsin. It is a very top 5 plus, sometimes top 2 nuclear program in the world. So we have that behind us. It's then therefore a very good draw for what we need in terms of high power scientists who can help us to do really hard things that have never been done before. So that's part of it. Why Janesville in particular, and about how many do we employ there? About 250 now is what we're up to in Janesville. It is growing. We probably will add over the next couple of years at least another 100 is a guess at this point, but to outfit those facilities I spoke of earlier, it will need roughly those amount of folks. Those are varied skills. Some of them can be a high school education level skill that we train them on how to be great solid operators. Others are going to be PhD level folks who help us to do really complex, enormously beneficial things.
Are there any other questions? Oh, here's one right here. Pardon me.
Hi, I'm Joe Lidke. Thank you for this. I'm actually hearing your CEO speak tomorrow at the Edgewater. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Do you think that as nuclear energy grows and you guys work kind of towards Pillar 4,
Yeah.
there's going to be a degree of re-education that needs to happen? Whereas right now, I think you hear so much about solar and
Yeah.
wind that people equate nuclear with like, oh, that's scary and
Yeah.
dangerous.
I do. It's a great question, Joe. Part of my job is actually to do that education. So we're pushing ourselves a lot more into the conversation about how nuclear is not a dirty word, that nuclear has a lot of opportunity for us as a society, and nuclear power plants as they are today can be a huge part of green energy. So it is the problem that we're trying to solve for in that phase 3 of our business around recycling of that nuclear waste and reusing that fuel versus it being put into casks or embedded into the ground. That's certainly not what we want either. So as long as we can get towards solutions there, I believe, again, we continue to demonstrate that we're doing fusion today, and we're demonstrating how that technology can actually be a beneficial part of green energy.
Paul, if there are no more questions, it's back to you.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you for speaking with us today, Patrick. I really appreciate it. It's a complex topic, but I thought you did an excellent job of breaking it down for us. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everybody who attended today's meeting. I want to say thanks to our guests and the Rotarians who've brought those guests. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I want to say welcome to our 4 new members. So welcome, you guys. Nice to have you here. I also be remiss if I didn't say thanks to Jason Ilstrup for filling in for me last week. So thank you, Jason, for doing that. Appreciate it. I don't know how you only got the one birthday day, but that's the luck of the draw there, I guess. And then I'll hope you'll join us next week when we're going to hear from Ron Busby, who's the president and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers. And the title of his speech is Amplifying Our Successes, the State of Black Businesses in 2023 and Beyond. This is going to be really good, you guys. So I hope you attend next week, and please come out. And thank you. Have a great day. We are adjourned.